What's going on, everyone, and welcome to the Deceptilab. This your boy Freeze with another video for you this week. And I made a little bit of a change because instead of the weekly con highlight that I usually do on Mondays, I did two con highlights last week. One on Triptychon and just looking at the new changes with Triptychon, and the other one I did was on the board, the bot that's going to be out here in this week's leaderboard, and that's Flatline. So I decided to go ahead and make a change, and I'm going to go revisit my combat bot series that I started probably a month or two ago, and I looked at Legacy 1 before, so this time I'm going to look at Legacy 2 and tell you what I think about that. So let me go to the game screen and we'll go take a look at that particular batch. So for that, let's see, it'll be Decepticon. Alright, so the bots we're looking at Fireline, Schrute, Caliburst. We got Overkill and Razor Sharp in this batch. And overall, I'll be honest with you, I'm not a huge fan of this batch. I'm really not. But and I'll go through each one individually and tell you what I like and dislike about each of the bots. I'm gonna start with the bot that I like the least first, and that's gonna be Overkill. So let's go take a look at his abilities and take a look at why I don't really particularly care for Overkill that much. So we'll go through. I think I got him as a 3-star on my main account. So let's see. So there he is. And I actually got him paired with Flame War that I use typically as a sack bot. And for Overkill, this is the stats I have him on level 6 3-star. 4,536 health on this particular one, and issuing 167 damage. Some of the special ability is setting enemies on fire and healing himself for 15% of damage. So for me, one of the big issues I've had with companion type bots is, it's not doing a whole lot in most cases to provide any true support to at least the earlier companion style bots. Not really doing a whole lot in support. Like, they're not going to go down and just tearing the large sections of the base by themselves. That's why I was so happy when SG Ravage came out. I was like, hey man, this is a pretty good bot and it's providing support for all the other bots on the team. But when I look at Overkill, one of the things that I see is that if there was an opportunity to be had, I could see him being used with your sack bots. And I'll try to see if I can get a good look at that here on Flame War. What I typically try to do is, I might be able to pull it off here. What I typically try to do is get him to take all the attention off of the main bot after the combat bots come out. So right here, you'll see that he's taking all the damage while Flame Warders does her thing. So I kind of use him as a distraction. I mean, even with this 3-star, he's got a little bit of health. Now I drop everybody else around there while the bot is, while the outpost bots are distracted. I don't really see Overkill as being good for much of anything else, really. And so, like, some of the other bots that I might consider using, kind of like how I use that Thundercracker and Ravage Sack for a lot of your different companion style bots. You can do that. So I think that's that's the most value that I get out of that bot. But other than that, like, I think his stats are bad. I think his damage health wise, I think they're better companion bots, especially now that they got bots like SG Ravage out, and they're starting to get better with these companion style bots, because nobody really wants you to use these bots a lot of times on characters that you don't feel like, or you don't want to change the ability. Like for me, I was having a conversation the other day about how I don't like using combat bots that are going to affect the way that the fire works on who was it that I was looking at? I think it was Scavenger, because Scavenger had the stun. So I was like, nah, I don't want to I don't want to go take away the stun, so I use a companion on bots like that. But that's like, it's not because I want to, it's because those bots aren't going to really fit anywhere else where it will be a benefit. And so that's what I use. But I don't really want to talk about Overkill that much. I really don't care for him. But if there is a use for him, that's what I would use him for. Alright, so let's see. Who would I want to talk about next? I think that I want to talk about Razor Sharp. I got him in a 3-star also. And let's look at Razor Sharp's abilities. So every 10 seconds, your enemy defenses are stunned for 3.2 seconds. Normal damage against bots and combiners increase by 15%. In this case, this is my 3-star level 7. Obviously, that scales depending on what level of combat bot that you have. But alright, let's just talk about this. Let's talk about just the generic stuff that we got up here. And so every 10 seconds, which 10 seconds can be a long time when you're in battle, but you get a stun out of that. Alright, so that's cool, even though it's only every 10 seconds. Damage against bots and combiners. Alright, so now it starts to get a little bit more interesting to me. And so when you look at each upgrade, the damage boost, there's a damage boost and there's a duration boost. So for me, I put mine's on Lugnut, and you know, I haven't found a perfect pairing for this one, but I put it on Lugnut because Lugnut is already going to stun with a special ability. And then I also put it on Lugnut just because usually if I'm going to use him as a sack bot, then he's going to be one-on-one with bots. He might be one-on-one with combiners for a second. So every little extra bit of damage that I can get, that's what I'm rolling with right now. And so I think that when I use that in conjunction with the fact that I got Lugnut's mace as a power core, then it makes it something that's a little bit more usable. You get a little bit more damage out of it. Alright, so let me get it. So give me a second. Let me find Lugnut. And I'll try to go do a demo. Alright, so that's my 4-star. And I'll throw whoever in there. I'm not really trying to do anything crazy. Yeah, I'll just run those two. Because I say I'm really just trying to go for demonstration purposes. Let's see. I'll do it in zone 11 real quick. So yeah, what I'm looking for is to try to get that original stun off the special ability. And then after the special ability, 10 seconds later, try to see if I can get more stun. I'll try to see if I can get some damage on those outpost spots. So what I'll do is I'll deploy Beast Wars Megatron first. Get him on his little jump. Bot pops out. Now that's pretty low level bot, so it's a good chance I probably take him out right away. Alright, so we got a stun. And then I'll continue on with my combat. And just try to go get a little bit of damage. And the other thing is, if I go and do a jump to somewhere with a really powerful defense, then I can, or a group of powerful defenses, then I can try to use that ability to try to stun it. But in this case, a lot of times I don't get to use that opportunity as much with Lugnut. I just wanted to double down on the stun, because he's got stun for his natural ability, also his special ability, excuse me. So other bots that I've experimented with, I like to use it on rush style bots. So for me, guys like Tantrum, Headstrong, the tank type bots that are out front taking a lot of damage, to see if they can eliminate some of that damage that the rest of the team is taking. I've experimented with using Razor Sharp on Tarantulas to just try to go in there and get some additional damage, because he's usually one of the bots that I have that's fighting a lot of outpost bots, and also just adding additional damage that's going to work in conjunction with his life drain ability. So those are a few. Like I said, these lists are not all inclusive. You know, a lot of times after I get done with a video, I get a bunch of messages. Oh, you didn't use this bot or that bot. Yeah, I don't try to get too detailed in there. I just try to talk about some things that I've tried that's worked and what has worked and what hasn't worked. So those are some of the things that have worked for me with that particular bot. All right, so let's go back into the batch and look at. So from a combat bot standpoint, let's look at Schrute. So with Schrute, that's the first time we had a healer combat bot, and it says heal. In this case, I got a 4-star level 9 right now. So for him, it's heal the allies around your target. In this particular case, let's see. So for 30% of the bot's heal value, every 10 seconds, you shield your target from 21% of damage for 4 seconds. And so this one was one of those bots that when it first got introduced, honestly, people overthink it a lot, I feel like. So it's a couple of things that they looked at. And so first off, I'll say this, and it took me a while to come to this conclusion. I don't use Schrute on Reflector because Reflector already has that kind of lob style ability. So you're taking your beam healer and you're changing it to a lob style, but you're using the lob style this splashing off other, you know, a percentage of healing off to other bots. So it does wind up being an upgrade for that zone heal part that it's talking about. And it's also got a protective element that at the time when Schrute was introduced, you know, the other bots didn't have that besides Reflector. So right now, currently, I think, who do I have? Like right now, I got Schrute on Shockwave because I use that on my war team currently, the Shockwave. So let me go in and just show how that works. So I'm gonna go ahead, and what I typically do is I'll run like a solo bot or something like that. So I'll use like Impactor and then Shockwave to kind of highlight that. Alright, so I'll go ahead and typically I'll take him in the with Impactor. I usually go into like zone, you know, like zone 14 or something like that. That's where I solo a lot, and so that's what I'm gonna do right now. So as we know, Shockwave with his normal ability, he's a beam healer. I'm in zone 14, so the Titan's gonna do a lot of damage. But when you look at this closely, then it's just gonna be lob style. If I had multiple allies out here with me, then the allies will start to get some healing as well. So I probably should have thought about that before I ran this trial. I probably just do it again. But let me see. Oh, here you can actually see it because I got Vertebrae down there. You see Vertebrae's getting some healing as well from Shockwave. So, and that's just because Schrute is going to have that a little percentage of that, you know, in this case 30% additional healing going to allies. So I think it's a good way to go. I think I had mentioned in one of my videos last week that I actually like doing the range extension from the Titan tech tree to try to push my healers back a little bit further and let my main bots be the ones that take all the damage. And that'll help you in the long term of getting your healing dealt with. That's why defensively for myself, I want to go get more of the target protocol power cores and make sure that these healers are getting locked in on as there are multiple healers if there are multiple healers on the team specifically, and as healers become more powerful, as is the case with Flatline. Alright, so let's see what we got left. Go back into our combat bots. And so I'm going to talk about the last two together and there's different ways that I look about using Fireline and Caliburst. And so I look at Caliburst first. So I got the 4-star here. Only got him at level 6. It's a relatively newer one for me, and I've been investing in other combat bots. But in this case, with a level 6, we've got a damage multiplier. In my case, it's 1.4% to targets that are under fire, acid, or speed reduction. The quick bot DPS is going to have an increase. In this case, it's 14%. And then range varies according to class, and it applies a 30% speed reduction for 3.5 seconds. So one thing about Caliburst is I feel like is a good combat bot, but I feel like it's a bot that you have to use in conjunction with something else. Like, you're not gonna get the most value that you can get out of Caliburst without having another bot that has fire or acid, or a bot that's going to do speed reduction or something like that. So I feel like in most cases it's more beneficial to have if you got a team that's got like multiple gunners, or if you got a team and you got a crater maker, or not even crater maker, like it's got to be somebody that's using that fire or acid or speed reduction. So there's a couple of speed reduction bots that you can use, but I tend to focus a little bit more on the fire and acid. So that's what, for me, I'm pretty deficient on ranged options, and I'm pretty deficient with having, in terms of having, good quality gunners. So it makes it limited. But when I do use it, I use it on a team that has multiple gunners. So that's where I'm kind of looking at with Caliburst. And I put these two together because I like Fireline. Now I will say, I do feel that Fireline gets overrated just a little bit. Fireline is a good bot, don't get me wrong. Fireline's an excellent combat bot, but I think that he gets overrated in a little bit because I see so many war effects that just come and go, and too many things that just affect fire damage for me to just go all the way in on them. Because it's in that perfect scenario that I was looking at, I was debating on what combat bots I want to upgrade next when I have the combat spark for it. And I was thinking about doing Fireline because the damage is so heavy. So I'll read the tooltip real quick. And it says set the area on fire and cause damage. In this particular case, it's equal up to 76% on this 4-star level 7. But obviously that scales. And that's the bot's base DPS value every second for 5 seconds. So 5 seconds, every 5 seconds, I mean, that's pretty good, right? I like that. But then I don't like that when I have to invest in the combat bot and then a war effect comes up there for fire. And granted, war effects change, right? That's temporary. But it's kind of tough that with the limited amounts of combat spark that we get, for me to just continue to double down on something that's essentially going to get a damage reduction at some point. So I'm still going to put some emphasis on him, but like I was looking at possibly chasing different combat bots. I actually think 5-star bots, and I think that one of the things that I'm going to look at is what combat bots do I need to do to prepare myself for whatever 5-star bots I was getting at, because I was looking at possibly trying to go pursue Brawl and doubling down on the fire damage. But what scares me about that is, so I got the G1 cool, I'm getting fire from that. So now I want to build like a volatile mixture power cool, just so I have something to kind of bail me out if I do start losing out on fire damage. Which means now I might turn to other combat bots to affect the fire. So I might go turn to Sights, who I think I have at like level 7 4-star or something like that. So that's what I'm kind of looking at when I start looking at Fireline, and like, what's the likelihood of me having just difficulty with any type of elemental damage. So that's what I kind of look at. But in this particular case, I'll go run these bots together in a little test here. So let's see. I need to find Kickback and Swindle. And this is just something I did with this particular team build that I had at one point, where I had a lot of these gunners back me up on a hollow walk team, and that's what I was using that particular team for. But I just what I ended up doing is I tried to capitalize on all the additional damage that I was getting from Kickback, and then the additional damage that I was getting from Fireline. So here I got the G1 Swindle Core. So yeah, it's a couple of things that I'm looking at, getting some fire damage out of the G1 Swindle, and then I load Caliburst on him so that I can say, all right, well, if anything that Swindle's following up with is going to have additional damage for it. For Kickback, well, now I got his ability that's going to allow me to go have that glass gas to also create additional damage. So now I'm just throwing damage on top of damage. I'm stacking all these different types of damage that I'm getting from these two bots combined, and I got Fireline on them. So Fireline in this particular case, if I can put glass gas, kind of like usually at a short range, so it just tear up everything a little bit faster, and that's how I use combine these bots together. So it's convenient for them to be in the same batch. And so it's just one of those things. I say I like to try to get these areas out there quickly, and with some of the stronger base designs, then it's one of those things that it's really helpful for pathing purposes. But yeah, that's kind of how I feel about those two. I feel like if you have multiple gunners, I think that Caliburst and Fireline, you can put them together on the same team. I think they're awesome. There are other areas that I want to try on, and I'm going to build up my Fireline, because what I'd like to do is capitalize on when I do try to pursue Brawl in the 4-star batch, the 5-star batch. Then that's what I'm going to be looking for, is getting those big damage boosts. I just walk into that situation knowing that I'm going to have to possibly swap him out when the war effects go back to any kind of fire reduction. But either way, it's still a good bot. It was a great bot because of the damage. It's really, for me, I guess I get scared off a little bit just because of the little bits of combat spark that we get, man. Like I gotta do that, and then the combat bot becomes ineffective compared to someone like Sights, where I know that, hey, Sights is gonna give me some big damage boost, and the likelihood of that being reduced in any capacity during the wars makes it a little bit more appealing for me. But that's all I wanted to talk about today. I just kind of wanted to look at some of the different combat bot batches. I think what I'm going to do later on in the week is some of the conversations that I've been having with players the last couple of days. It's been a lot of conversation about how bizarre some of my choices for bots that I really like, or bots that I use heavily in wars, and just like some of the not confusion, but it's people's like, oh, you like that bot? Like, why do you like that bot? So I think I'm going to do a video about how I process about going through 5-star bot selections, and some of the things that I think about in my head when I'm trying to go make a 5-star selection. Like I said, I'm already trying to pursue batch 4, and I think it's still going to be a little bit before we get another 5-star batch. And depending on who's in it, I might not necessarily pursue that batch, but we'll talk about that in the next video. I think I'll try to run that on Thursday. I think it's an interesting conversation piece that I've been having with multiple players, so look forward to that Thursday at 6. But until then, have fun. Hey, start getting yourself ready for the leaderboard this weekend, and I'll see you guys out there on the battlefield. Freezius out.